Hey everyone, it's Allie, and with a new day means a new news post, and today we're going to be discussing what is arguably one of the single most important topics in any RPG, endgame balance and itemization updates. To quickly spoil a lot of the news posts for you, we are getting a lot of amazing changes in Season 2. Not only are they going to give you more agency in terms of being able to farm whatever items you want to, however you want to, but at the same time, they're making it easier for you to get specific unique items. They're reworking sets, so they're not completely dead content anymore, and they're rebalancing a lot of the game around to where health is going to be a lot better, ward is going to be a little bit nerfed in some cases, ward is going to be buffed in other cases, and overall, honestly, the game's just going to be looking in a lot healthier states, especially when we add in all the new crafting options that are coming with Season 2. Now, we got the first half of the picture in the Woven updates, which I'll link in the description below if you want to watch my video covering it, which goes over the new content that's coming for the game and all the new features you're going to be able to play with. But today we're going to go over all the meat and the bones of all the system changes that are going to make, well, making whatever build you want to a lot easier. Let's get into it, let's discuss everything, and let's get you on your way to being excited about Season 2, just like I am. The first topic we should start with is going to be set items. In Last Epoch, set items have been dead content for, well, years at this point. They've been massively power crept and the items themselves just kind of suck. And outside of a few cases, such as the Shattered Land set, most set items are just so weak that the item itself that you have to put on to get the set effects just aren't strong enough to keep up with modern day items. Because of this, most set items are just completely unusable in most builds. And what they're doing in Season 2 is they're reworking sets to where they're finally going to now be used in a lot of builds. And honestly, I can see sets becoming extremely meta. We're going to get the Forge of Shattering, which allows you to put your set items inside of, which will then delete them and turn them into crafting epic shards. These epic shards can then be put on your gear to turn that item into a set item, giving you the set effects if you were to equip multiple of these at the same time, but at the same time giving you a portion of that set item that you destroyed, essentially giving you the essence of it. So an example, the Sunforged helmet typically gives you armor and the Forged weapon mods. In 0.2, if you were to go delete this item, turn it into a shard, and then put it on another helmet, as mentioned, it becomes a Sunforged set item, meaning if you were to equip the other Sunforged items, you would get the set effects. But at the same time, it's going to give you the Forged weapon mods from the helmet itself, giving you effectively a much stronger version of the helmet, as you can craft the other stats into exactly what you want it to be. There is a lot of potential with this, because even if you don't want to use your class sets, you can still potentially care about the epic shards that they get distilled into as a way to make whatever build you're playing stronger. Moving on from there, we have quite a few changes when it comes to exactly what you're going to do with some of the items and bricks that you're going to encounter throughout your journey. First, we have the Relic of the Observer, which allows you to reroll attributes on a piece of gear, which is great. If you end up getting yourself a random exalted item that seems like a really good crafting base, but it just so happens to have the wrong attribute on it, well, you can go ahead and use this to reroll it. We also have massive changes coming to experimental crafting. Before, you had to use Glyphs of Insight and you had to go to Punk Lab and use the calculator to figure out exactly how experimental items worked and what you were going to get, and it was just very unintuitive. What we're now going to get in Season 2 is the Thaumaturgy device, which just allows you to pick whatever exalted item you want to slam onto your item. Now it's going to delete a prefix, but the cool thing about this is that the exalted mod is going to be based off of how strong your prefixes are, meaning it's even easier than before. The point is, if you've never had to use an experimental item in your builds, well, consider yourself lucky for not having to go through the pain of actually trying to craft an experimental item. But if you've ever used an experimental item in your build, you are probably screaming up into the sky right now with excitement, given just how big of a change this is to this portion of the game. On top of this, we're also getting a few changes to unique items and what you can go and do with them. For example, ever get that perfect unique item that has the correct LP mods on it and you're happy with everything, but the rolls on it just suck? The Woven offering is now going to allow you to take extra copies of that unique item and re-roll your main copy and, well, just get completely new rolls on it. The thing about this is that you're going to need a donor that is as good as the item. For example, if you want to reroll a 1 LP item, you're going to need 1 LP copies of that item to use as sacrifice fodder. The other really interesting thing here is the Woven Potential Bench, which allows you to put unique items inside of them to reroll their LP as if they just dropped on the ground again. So if you ever are trying to farm a 2 or 3 LP version of an item, every 1 LP version of that item can now effectively be just shoved in here to get a second roll on it as if it just dropped twice, effectively allowing you to have double rolls on anything above 1 LP. Now, if it fails and doesn't give you 1 extra LP or 2 or 3, it's going to set it down to 0, which is very important because you can then put this inside of the Egg of the Forgotten and the Nemesis mechanic, which is what came with Season 1, but then either add random LP stats on it, which then means that item becomes cannon fodder for Woven rerolling, or if it does end up adding 1 LP back onto it, just shove it back in the Woven Potential machine and try to roll it again, or make it go back down to 0, and then you just put it back in the Egg in the Nemesis machine. So the point is, every single copy of Unique that you're looking to min-max is now usable and now relevant for you, and you're not just playing the lottery machine of specifically trying to find a 2 or 3 LP version of whatever you're looking for. Finally, when it comes to system changes, we are getting 3 new crafting materials to play with, one being quality of life and the other 2 being really major updates to the game. First, for the quality of life, we have the Rune of Weaving, which basically just does what putting on a Weaver item and killing enemies would do. So if you, for example, want to use a Weaver weapon and your current Weaver weapon's really good, you don't have to gimp your build by using a substantially weaker weapon to be able to go roll it to see what stats it has. Simply just open up your crafting interface, shove your Weaver item in there, shove the Rune of Weaving on, and just hit the button, and it'll be as if you killed a bunch of monsters with it. In terms of actual crafting changes, we're getting the Rune of Havoc and the Rune of Redemption. These are going to allow you to do some pretty insane things. Although they're going to be a little bit niche and you're not going to spam these, whenever you do come into a situation where you're going to want to use one of these, you're going to be really happy that they exist. First off, the Rune of Havoc allows you to shuffle the tiers on affixes on an exalted item. With a Rune of Havoc, it's really easy to just immediately grab yourself a good exalted base and then just go and LP it onto whatever item you want to. The other rune, the Rune of Redemption, also has its own really niche but powerful use cases. This allows you to randomly change the exalted affix sign item into different ones, effectively allowing you to reroll them into something potentially useful to craft off of. This is amazing and it's really good. And while again, these runes are a little bit niche, just fill in a gap that honestly I didn't realize was missing, and yeah, it's just exciting to play with. Let's talk about some balance changes, as there's quite a lot of really exciting things coming for season 2 as well. First off, boss word is being nerfed. It's being removed off of exiled mages, nemesis, and other mini bosses, so you're not gonna have to interact with it as often as before. The other thing that's changing is that for things that is keeping boss words such as Aberoth, Harbingers, and Orbis, it is going to be substantially nerfed as the initial decay rate of it is doubled, meaning that you have to wait less time before the word goes away to be able to keep chewing through the boss's health. This is a massive buff to your single target damage on bosses, which is really good for build diversity, as this allows more builds to be able to shine and to be able to be viable rather than them feeling really bad because of boss word and the way it works. Great change, absolutely amazing. Everyone's gonna love this. Nobody's gonna be upset about this. Next up, we have some changes to player defensive layers. Ward is getting nerfed a little bit, with ward retention, especially the ward retention that you're getting from intelligence, being lowered from 4% per point to 2. While you're not gonna have as much ward retention as before, at the same time, they are massively buffing ward decay threshold and ward per second on gear, meaning that for builds that don't necessarily have an insane ward engine inside of them, ward is now gonna be more viable, meaning it's a nerf to the current meta of ward-based builds, but it's a massive buff to all of the underplayed or all the less meta versions of ward builds, which is extremely exciting. At the same time, they are just buffing health by quite a big margin. All health rolls on gear are now 20% bigger. Great, awesome. I don't think I need to go any further here. It is just a good change. They're also going to be massively buffing health regen to where health regen is going to actually be a defensive layer that was going to really matter. The other thing that this changes is that Vessel of Strife builds are going to be really strong given that they need high health regen, and typically the thing that's kind of neutered these kind of builds over time is that health regen just hasn't really kept up with the times. You're now going to be able to see life builds do a lot better. You're now going to see niche word builds do better, and you're just going to have a much better time with health in general. The final thing to mention here in terms of what is changing in terms of player defenses is a massive nerf to global damage over time. First off, all dots are just nerfed by 15%. Great. And at the same time, corruption only gives half of the increased damage that it gives for dots, meaning that not only is base dot damage lower, but dot damage that scales as you push corruption is also significantly nerfed. This brings dots in line with everything else, which is amazing and absolutely needed for the game. And this is literally one of the single most important changes they could have made for the game. And I'm so glad that they understand what the core issue with dots is. And I'm so glad that's actually being changed. So with all this, we are now getting the items being a lot more useful. We're getting player defenses in a much healthier state. We're getting new crafting options. And when we bundle this with a lot of balancing that's going to obviously come with season 2 in terms of a lot of buffs and a lot of nerfs, but when we take in every single thing that's changing, when we add in the Woven faction, when we add in the Sentinel rework, when we add in all of these things together, we're going to have a great season 2. And I'm really looking forward to it personally. That's pretty much all we have to cover in this video. I'm excited for everything. I'm happy for everything. If you want to discuss any of this further or have any questions on any of this, feel free to leave a comment in the comments below, and I'd be more than happy to discuss any of this further with you at any point. I also stream on Twitch every single day, so feel free to come by Twitch and ask me of your questions there. Or if you simply just want to come by and hang out with the other kitties and be a part of our community, I'd be more than happy to see you there as well. With all that said, kitties, I hope to see you in the next video. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day,